Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. You're trying to secure control of a dystopian cyberpunk city by uncovering your adversary's classified information hidden inside their top secret code-protected briefcase while protecting your own by cleverly deploying guards, assassins, and sentinels and encrypting information when you can. Now, classified information is an iterative deduction microgame for 2 players. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to play, is for ages 12 and up, and published by IncrediQuest Games. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how it works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototypes, they're not final, so check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video to see the most up-to-date art and components. Classified information is a micro game where it comes with 18 cards. There's cards numbered 1 through 9, and there's 2 copies of each card. Here's each of the unique ones. Now at the beginning of the game, each player is going to get some cards into their hand that they're going to have and they'll keep secret, but they're also going to get a secret card in front of themselves. Now this is essentially their secret suitcase. Now they'll be able to look at it, but the other player won't. Now these have some interesting information on it. First of all, since this is my secret suitcase, again, you normally face down, this is my suitcase number. This is the code to that suitcase. It's always going to be the suitcase number, and it's always going to have the digit before and the digit after. So the code for this suitcase is 234. The opponent is trying to sort of deduce what this code is, or at least have one of these 3 numbers figured out at the end, at the end of the game, to try to steal this classified information. You're trying to protect this in different ways, but you're also trying to do the same thing to them, which is finding out what their secret code is in their secret suitcase. Now, over the course of the game, you may be putting guards in front of this to try to guard. You can have up to 3 guards in front of your suitcase. Some effects and abilities might end up flipping those over. So guards is one type of card that you'll be playing over the course of the game. Now, another guild affiliation that you may use are the assassins. Now, typically what's happening with this is you're trying to assassinate the other player's guards. So if this was our suitcase, this was one of our guards, that player might play one of these, trying to assassinate. I'll go over how this works a little bit later. And another type of card that you might be playing are the sentinels, and these are going to be either a guard or an assassin. You get to choose how to use them. Now those are just some high-level concepts. I'm going to show you how all those different cards are used and other ways to use cards in detail in just a moment. So in addition to getting 2 cards in your hand, there's also going to be a draw deck, and there's also going to be some encrypted information over here. There's 2 cards that start there. That's essentially information that you don't know, and so it's going to be a little hard to deduce things if you have cards there that for sure aren't going to be in your hand right now. Now the turns are very simple from a procedural standpoint. You're going to draw a card from the draw deck. Then you're going to perform an action by playing a card in one of 3 different ways. Now one of the things you could do is enlist, which is playing a card for its guild affiliation that we talked about at a high level just before. Now this is a guard. Now when I play this here, I am trying to guard the information that's in my secret suitcase because I don't want the other player to get this code and open it up, okay, at the end of the game. So I'm going to be placing a guard here. Now when this gets done, this is going to be placed face down so the other player doesn't know what this is right off the bat. Now you can have up to 3 guards here. Now how is this guard guarding this? Well, let's take a look at my secret card here. My secret code is 234. Now players are going to be playing cards like this, and things are going to be going back and forth, and eventually the draw deck is going to be depleted. Now let's just say it was the end of the game and I had my suitcase here. The other player, and you at that point, will only have 1 card left in your hand at the end of the game. So at the end of the game, players, this would be my suitcase, are going to flip over their card, and they're going to have the code, and the other player has their last card that's in their hand. And they'll see if that card's number matches any of the 3 numbers that are in the code. And if so, they will have stolen your classified information. And if they did that and you didn't, they would have won the game. However, let's say the game ended and this player's guard, we flip this over, then we flip the guard over, and they have their last card. Let's say this player had the 2, we had a guard of a 3. This was our secret card. They would still be able to do it because number 1, it got through this guard because the numbers don't match, and the number here matches at least one, matches one of the numbers in the code. They still would have stolen my classified information. But let's say this was my secret code. This was my guard, and the other player's last card was this. Well, because this matches this, this is a guard, this was able to guard this, so this didn't get through to the secret code. Great, we stopped them. If we were able to have gotten theirs, we win. So if only one player gets through, that player wins. However, if neither player gets through, or both of them get through, then it's whoever has the most guards win. And if that's tied, then both players tie. For example, the other player may have had this for their last card, 7. The guard doesn't guard it because they're guarding a 2. The 7, well, it doesn't do anything there because it's not any of those numbers. Now, how do you keep track of all this information? How do you deduce things? Well, you have a cipher wheel like this, and it goes on a stand. And what this is going to show you are the different types of codes. Now remember, the middle number is the same as the number up top, and then you have the number before and the number after, for example. And the cipher wheel works the same way. This is the middle number, that's the number above, that's the number below. And so as you see cards, you're able to mark them off. For example, I have the 2, 3, 4. So I find that middle number, the 3, and I look in the middle ring, which is the big number here, the 3, and I put a slash through this. Now this has the sentinel icon here. And so I'm going to go from that sentinel icon, which is in the top left of this, and make one single line, crossing that off and the 3 off like that. Now for this one, I had the 2, and it was the guard. So again, middle ring, we have the 2. This one has the guard in the upper right, so I make one slash that kind of like goes through both of those. Over here, I see that there is an assassin. So if I see the assassin later on, I'll take another single line and draw it from the assassin through the 2. So then it would look like this, and now I know that this is crossed off. I've seen both of those cards, so I know that can't be their suitcase number. So I mentioned on your turn, you're drawing a card, and then you're playing a card in one of a few different ways. So one of them is the list. We talked about the guards. Now let's say when a card's played, it is the assassin. Let's say the other player played this. They're trying to assassinate our guard. What we would do is we would secretly look at this and see if that is successful or not. And in this case it is, and let's show you why. Because you look at the assassin's code. If any of these 3 numbers match any of the 3 numbers on the code on the guard it's trying to assassinate, then it is successful. The 3 matching the 3 is enough for this assassination to be successful, and both of these cards would go to the discard pile. Now, however, let's say this was the assassin played, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. None of these numbers match any of these, so it would have been unsuccessful. So it would have looked like this. This player would have played the assassin. This player would have secretly looked at it and said, nope, it fails. And then this assassin would go to the discard pile, but the player that played the assassin gets to randomly look at one of the cards in this player's hand, because even when skilled assassins fail, they can still extract some information from their targets. And again, if you play a card and it's the sentinel, you're deciding whether to play it as a guard or the assassin. So that's enlisting, playing it for their faction. Now I told you after you draw a card on your turn, there's 3 ways to play a card or use it. One of them is enlist, which we just showed you, playing it for the faction. The other is to encrypt, and that's playing a card face down into the encrypted card pile. Again, that's keeping information away from the other player, because if you have a card that might be very important, if they saw that it was there, you might not want them to be able to see it. You can place it there. The third possible way you can use a card is for its ability. So what you'll do is you'll play the card, you'll do its ability, and then that card will go into the discard pile. For example, you would flip one of your guards face up, and then the opponent must tell you if that guard's number is in their code. Maybe you scavenge, where you're choosing a card from the top 3 cards of the discard pile, placing it in your hand, and then discarding another card from your hand. We talked about earlier flipping guards over. This allows you to flip an opponent's guard face up, and or arrange the discard pile, and or secretly look at the bottom 2 cards of the draw deck. Maybe you play this extra protection card, and it has a tuck ability where you're going to play it face up, and then one of your guard cards is going to be under this. So if a player needs to assassinate, they need to assassinate this extra protection first before they can get to the guard. Now if this guard was face up, they still need to be able to see, well, they see who the protection is, but they also need to be able to see what that guard is as well. Or maybe you force your opponent to tell you one number that is not in their suitcase number and is not the number 3. And if no guards are in play, they tell you a second number meeting these requirements. Different ways to learn more about the other player's suitcase. There's some react cards that you play immediately after a successful assassination to block it, and then on your next turn, you draw, and then you skip your action. So it's kind of like pretty powerful, but then you skip your next action. I'm not going to show you all the abilities, but those are some of the flavor of the different things that you can do with them. Now, the base offering, there'll be a pouch, and there'll be this set 1 deck, and it comes with the markers and the stands. And this base box opens up and actually has most of the rules of the game on here. So you could just, tuck this together, put it in your pocket, get to somewhere, and then use your own pencil and paper and or a phone to keep track of your notes. And you could literally have something this small and have the whole game if you're traveling. Now the deluxe version additionally comes with the box. The stands I've been showing you, these are sort of the deluxe stands. It also comes with 2 additional decks, Ruby and Emerald. I'll talk briefly about those in just a minute. Comes with some custom sleeves and comes with some suitcases in case you want to play sort of a multi-game session. So you can play the best 2 out of 3 or the best 3 out of 5 as the winner, and you keep these suitcase tokens to keep track of how many games you've won. Now, as you get good at the game, you may want to increase your difficulty by adding more cards to encrypt and having less turns. And here is the Emerald deck, which introduces taking control of another player's guard and other strategic abilities. Feel free to pause to read all the abilities. Now here are the unique cards in the Ruby deck, and it introduces unblockable assassinations and other highly tactical abilities. Feel free to pause the video here to read all the abilities if you like. And you can also create your own customized set of cards to play a certain game with, like putting all of the 1s from the Emerald deck, all the 2s from the Ruby deck, and so on and so forth. As long as each of the cards from each of the numbers, there's 2 of each numbers, and that each of the same numbers comes in from the same set, you can mix and match to sort of customize it to your play style. Well, there you have classified information, and as I showed in the overview, you're trying to find the right way to use these multi-use cards at the right time for victory. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me right in the description of this video. Now that's going to take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that IncrediQuest Games would love your support.